you get into this realm where your business starts to run you and you can't deliver what, the content to your community because you're in the weeds. I like to say I want to be in the seeds of my business, but not the weeds of my business because I love to know how things work. I want to banish this idea that like you're a bad business owner if you're tinkering around. Like you should understand how your shit works.
Hello and welcome to the BuddyBoss podcast, where we dive deep into the strategies that will help you build, launch, and grow your online communities, your courses, and your memberships. I'm your host, Jason Broderick, Head of Content and Marketing Strategy here at BuddyBoss. If it's your first time here or you just haven't gotten around to it yet, do me a favor, click that subscribe button below this video, then hit that bell icon to make sure you keep up to date with all of the latest content here at BuddyBoss. In today's episode, I'm joined by celebrity astrologer and matchmaker on Amazon Prime's reality show Cosmic Love, Ophira Edut from Astro Style Galaxy. Her and her sister, known as the Astro Twins, reach an audience of millions each month, and their community Astro Style Galaxy helps business owners to create a clear path to success based on their astrological birth charts. Ophira tells us about how she reached her peak point of frustration during a 2020 launch, trying to connect 8 different external SaaS platforms together just to make the launch work. The B.A.N.K code for creating the perfect content and community experience to match your ideal customer's personality type, and her I am system for measuring 13 facets of your birth chart to calculate the style of working on your business that'll help you launch and grow most efficiently. And she even gives me a birth chart reading live on air. Let's dive in. Ophira, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining me. So we were chatting a little bit beforehand about the sort of I was going to say the universe of everything you're in, but we're going to sort of focus on the Astro Style Galaxy. But the first thing I want to say is I'm right in thinking that you are a twin, right? You are one of two. There's sort of two of you behind the brand. Could you tell me a little bit about you and your twin?
Yes, my identical twin sister and I are known as the Astro Twins. We fell into this accidental career as astrologers. We went to art school at the University of Michigan, almost went to engineering school, and along the way, we're introduced to astrology and this is a very helpful tool. And I guess twins knowing how to tell people the future is fascinating to people, so it just snowballed into a career, and here we are.
That's awesome. So I love the sort of like entry point was like you mentioned you were going down the sort of engineering route first. Does that give you sort of like
art, computers?
Yeah, it's a very well. I was going to say like a very well-rounded entry point into something that could be considered to be like not very cerebral or tangible. You know, do you think like the engineering kind of thing has allowed you to sort of like systematize the processes, or like give me a little bit of insight into how the engineering stuff has helped ground that other work?
Yeah, well, I did end up flipping the coin and going to art school instead. However, early on, I was born in 1972. I'll confess to that. And in 1983, my savvy mother decided we should get an Apple computer. So one of the earliest, I think it was the 2E or the 2C, whichever one came out. And there were only 2 games on there, and one was called Type Master. So the game was learning how to type, and my sister and I became very fast typists, which allows us to pump out tons of horoscopes now. And I also learned, I was in the gifted program because I was a little nerd, and I learned they were teaching us computer coding. So I've always been fascinated with how things work. Astrology is like the cosmic code that every human is born with. So any excuse to tinker around behind the scenes, whether it's a person, a machine, that's just what I love.
I love that. That's amazing. And it's very obvious from looking at your site and looking at all your stuff that like there's a very methodical and a very systematized way of sort of walking people through this world that could be sort of quite ethereal and could be quite like up there and whatever. So it's fascinating for somebody like me who has no exposure whatsoever to that world, to be able to, I guess, well, firstly talk to you and like have a chat and, you know, pick your brain a little bit, but also just to look at the outward manifestation of what you've created and see the moving parts a little bit, if that makes sense. Could you describe for
Absolutely.
people like how, so the Astro Style Galaxy is the sort of like the technological universe for your stuff. Could you describe for
Yes.
people what are those moving parts?
Absolutely. So, um, it started with a column in magazines, an old magazine called Teen People. Some people may remember it, those born in the 80s and 90s. They gave me and my sister our first astrology column. So we were writing for magazines. We started writing a couple of books. And, you know, I've been in the internet since Web 1.0, tinkering around building my own websites and HTML. First one was in 96. And, um, just thought this is such a fun way to give people this information about themselves. I love personality tests, and I think astrology is a great personality test. But you, Jason, you really brought up something that's really true about astrology. It's this incredible timeless art form, but it's like another language. So people will hear you like, oh, I'm a Capricorn and this and that, and like, what the heck are you talking about? So you lose people. I'm very interested in like people having access to tools that are helpful and having them translated. My sister and I grew up in a house where everybody spoke a different language, a house full of immigrants, all from different countries. So we were always kind of navigating, the different languages people spoke. So astrology was this common universal language to us in a way.
Mm.
Um, so we've worked very hard at translating it. We even created a personality test, kind of drilling it down into 3 archetypes that people can use for businesses and that sort of thing. So the galaxy part of Astro Style, that was like a long story there, but we started with our website, astrostyle.com, which is where people can come read daily, weekly, monthly horoscopes, find out about themselves, love, horoscopes, career, all of that. But especially in the pandemic and in the past few years, people have wanted to learn how to actually do astrology or go deeper into it. So we started creating classes. And we were on a few other platforms that shall remain nameless. They might have
They
started
don't
with a
have to remain
hard,
nameless if you don't
okay.
want. You can
They
name them if you
all
like.
seem to start with a hard consonant. Kajabi, Kartra, all of them, and they were great out of the box, but I would get so frustrated. I think I reached my peak of frustration when we were doing this 2020 astrology summit, and I found myself stringing together, literally, I counted 8 different platforms to get all the funnels and autoresponders and classes, and I was like, a Zap here, an Infusionsoft there. I was like, oh my God, there's got to be a better way. And then I found BuddyBoss. I was like, could this be the thing that we actually can control? So that's how I ended up here and creating the
Amazing.
galaxy where all of our classes are. Yeah.
Awesome. So the galaxy is like the hub behind the sort of main, like what we would call like the marketing website, which is your sort of like main horoscope sort of
Exactly.
the front end. The galaxy is the community course
Exactly.
learning exploration sort of back end.
Hmm.
Would that be right to say?
Yeah, that's definitely right. And for many years, my sister and I did private one-on-one readings for people, like an hour, hour and a half consultation, but that can only
Mm.
scale so much. And I
Hmm.
absolutely loved the people I was reading for, but it was like, okay, I just gave you 10 years of therapy in an hour, and now I need a nap. How is this going to be sustainable? So we thought, how can we still create that layer of access to us without having to speak to every human being on the planet, much as I'd love to, believe you me. So the Galaxy became the place where, like, let's see what we can make into kind of a group coaching or a community or a course that someone can do or a hybrid. So we've integrated Learn Dash and we did a little bit of gamey press, all kinds of things. We did the BuddyBoss app even for a while. I've done it all. I love to tinker with new things.
Awesome. So are you the sort of are you the technological half of the pair, or do you sort of both do a little bit of that?
We
It
both
seems to
do,
me
but
like
I'm
you're kind
the,
of,
yeah,
you're the
more
tinkerer.
me. I'm the
Yeah.
tinkerer. Hmm.
Yeah. Nice. So one of the things I'd love to do is dive a little bit more into sort of your experience before, going back before, before you found BuddyBoss. So
Yeah.
you were, how did you find sort of moving from the world of columns in publications? I guess like they were moving online probably anyway, and so it
Yeah.
was kind of a natural progression to move the written word online. But how did you sort of, what was your entry point into sort of taking people out of your columns elsewhere and kind of creating your own universe?
That's a great question. I think, it becomes a step on the journey. Like, astrology is for people who are obsessive at the end of the day, like I get, or I should say, I only want to build communities for people who are obsessed about the topic. I don't think it's
Hmm.
worth it otherwise. Like well, either for like a very broad general interest or obsessed, but anything in the middle is almost not worth it because then
Hmm.
you're not gonna have the people, the retention and the engagement that you want. So,
Hmm.
we have our I think we have a lot of people coming to our main website who are just like, I just want my daily horoscope. Tell me what's going to
Hmm.
happen. Tell me if he's going to call. Tell me if, the sky is going to fall. Cool. I'm good. I feel good today. Great. Thanks.
Hmm.
And then there are people that are like, God, this was so helpful. I want more facility with this. That's who I was. I had
Hmm.
zero interest or intention of becoming an astrologer, a straight A student, daughter of immigrants. I was supposed to be making my parents proud with one of those professions that has like, three letters and a period after it or something. Although interesting, my dad is a landscaper and my mother is a rabbi. So I'm like, she's up in the heavens, he's on the ground. Maybe
Wow.
astrology's somewhere in between. Uh,
Yeah, I love that. I love that. That's such a great way of describing it.
so yeah, we're like we need to have some ways of reaching these people and bringing them together. We started actually doing like little Facebook pop-ups.
Hmm.
I've heard you talking on the podcast about, like um, Stu McLaren and Amy Porterfield. I've done all their work as well. So Marie Forleo and B School, I'm sure, is a familiar name
Yeah.
around here.
Mentioned them quite
Yeah,
a few times on the podcast too.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So she's a personal friend, and I've been an affiliate of B School for 10 years. So,
Hmm.
as a B School affiliate, we offered a companion, a little mini program for people that we called Astropreneurs. We called it the Cosmic Success Incubator. We did like a little
Hmm.
3-week Facebook group. Um, and while people were in B School working on their business, we kind of taught them a companion astrology curriculum.
I
And it
love
just
that. That is such a great way
yeah.
to affiliate for someone else rather than just like putting links in emails and being like, yeah, buy their thing, buy their thing. Like I love that. That's
Exactly.
brilliant.
And that's how I really ended up falling in love with the whole group coaching model because I was like, this is so fun. These people are really passionate, engaged, and they'd be like, oh my God, you helped me narrow down my decision more. So they were actually taking action in building their businesses or in their lives or in a relationship or whatever it was. So it paired really well with the hard skills of B School. And before we
Hmm.
know it, it kind of turned into its own thing with hard skills and astrology. So
Hmm.
it's organically grown and we've just been experimenting with how can we build buddy boss communities within this galaxy.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So one of the things before I forget, I wanna go back about 4 minutes, wind back the tape, and ask you about something. You began to jump down Alice's rabbit hole, and I want to like force you back down there.
Please.
You described that the sort of along the continuum of communities, you are only really interested in the tip and tail. The
Yes,
the
I like
tip
that.
being like communities that are like really broad general interest to sort of
Hmm.
like amass like a large group of people to sort of gather around this interest or topic, or
Hmm.
the other end, which is the end that I'm more interested in,
Yeah.
communities surrounding people who are obsessed around a topic or a subject. Tell me, like, in brief, what would you say are some of the ways that you can attract and retain people who are obsessed about a topic?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I've been obsessed with figuring that out all year as we did our first 1 year pilot program for astropreneurs. And we have 120 people in there, but I'd say there's about 30 of them that show up like faithfully on every monthly Zoom call that we do. So I've been
Mhm.
really observing. I think the people in the middle are either not sure what they want right now, or you're not communicating to them why they should be there. So
Mm,
there are things you can do like send them a personal email, re-engage them. But it takes time and it takes energy, and it isn't something that a lot of independent business owners have time to do. I think you should prepare to give some people that kind of special service. But I feel like if you have to pull people and convince them, then, there are things you can do on the front end with your marketing, like this is for you, this isn't for you.
mm,
And I think when people start a community, they're thinking, well, let's get whoever we can in there and just let it build its own culture. But now that the culture has emerged, I'm like, okay, I thought I was talking to people that wanted to start businesses, and I've learned actually the people that are showing up are uh, want to be experts in something. They actually want to stand
mm.
out. And so they want a specific type of business. And now I can tailor what I'm doing. So I think, and I learned this from Stu McLaren. I think he said this too. It's like your first year is a little bit of a discovery year. Like
Mm.
engage with the people, let them in, but know that there will probably be some that don't stick around because they're not of the right man. Your obsessions and their obsessions don't overlap enough.
Mm.
So, um, I think sometimes also people think they should hide their obsessions to seem professional and like they're,
Mhm.
join my community and you will have a whole lot of generic stuff. Well, nobody joins for that. They join because they're
Yeah.
enthusiasts about something. That's
Mhm.
my discovery and opinion. I mean, I don't know if you found that to be true also.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you've mentioned quite a few things that that are well, I guess for somebody like me who like whose job is to see lots of people like you doing lots of this kind of stuff, like the people who are doing it well would all agree that that at the outset it's difficult to try and be to try and niche down to such a level that you are actively turning some people off,
Yeah,
because you then you're narrowing the pool of potential customers at at the early stages. But really what that's doing is it is attracting people who are more and more obsessed, like you describe,
yeah.
with exactly what it is that you are trying to do in the first place. But I also don't disagree like with what you said about what Stu McLaren said about kind of like your first year, particularly with a membership, but really anything that revolves around any like messaging kind of aspect, where you have to
Yeah,
describe your course to an ideal customer, or you have to
yeah.
describe your membership to an ideal customer, or your coaching or whatever. That like there is an amount of time where you don't even know what you want to be, let alone do you know
Right.
how to communicate that to the kind of person who you want to attract. Somebody at the outset who needs the sort of validation of the engagement, but also needs the income. That
Hmm.
tends to lean on the safe side of
Yeah.
what they're offering, and also to only give their safe version of themselves when they are doing their
Yeah.
marketing, when they are doing their writing, that whether it's through the written word or on camera or whatever. They tend to give like the palatable version of themselves to try and attract as
Hmm.
many people as possible. But in reality, what that's actually doing is it's turning off the people who could have been or would have been obsessed with you if they knew more of who you were. You
Yeah.
sort of the magnets are poles, right? So if you flip one magnet around, it turns both sides.
That's
You
true.
attract
It'll
more of the
repel or
general people.
attract.
Yeah, but you
Uh-huh.
repel, or you don't attract as many of the people who could have been obsessed about you.
Yes,
I think.
perfectly said. And, it's very counterintuitive. And actually, you know, I'll say it's scary to actually take that leap of faith and believe that. And
Mm.
truthfully, the first year was like, we put all the bells and whistles on. Like I was like, well, someone introduced me to an acronym BANK, which stands for Blueprint, Action, Nurture, and Knowledge. But I thought this was so great because it's like you want to have something for each of those people. Who wants the blueprint? They need the worksheets and the checklists, the action.
Ah,
Maybe they need challenges or points. The nurture people need your time with them. And then the knowledge, like,
ah,
teach me how to do this. So we use that as sort of a
ah.
metric. I found that my audience didn't want as much of the action. I thought they did. I was like, let's give them
Mm,
points. Let's do gamey press as an add-on and
mm,
challenges. So like a few people would do it, but they just liked sharing. And I love that the BuddyBoss theme lets people comment in my lessons and everything with their
mm.
little picture. So um, yeah, that was great. So they didn't really care about the points because none of them have redeemed them, no matter how much they rack up. But for other communities, that might be the thing, like if it's a fitness one or a challenge, So what's great is like maybe you want to give yourself that first run, whether it's 6 months. I feel like I learned this within 4 to 6 months of which of the bank, uh, you
Mm.
know, letters people gravitated toward.
Yeah, like the bank matrix, let's call it.
The
The
Matrix,
the
yeah,
four-way
exactly.
sort of like where in the matrix are you? Yeah, that's I love that. I love that.
Hmm.
Yeah, any kind of like system or systematized way of thinking about something like that, I love because it's much easier for people to wrap their head around
Right,
than just sort of like,
exactly.
oh, go create some interesting content.
Yep,
Sure, but
exactly.
what? Like
But
it could
what?
be anything. Like
Hmm.
yeah, and I feel like as well I there's another influencer over here. You may have heard of Lisa Johnson, and
Yeah,
she's starting
heard
to
you
teach
mention her.
a process of like, hey, like all of these business models exist in the world, and there is an expert on all of them out there in the world who will tell you this business model makes me millions, and they're
Hmm.
not wrong. It probably does. Some of them are liars, but let's assume we're going to discount the liars. Like there are people who are succeeding with all kinds of models and systems and processes. And so
Hmm.
now that we're like getting beyond the stage of there's one way or there's one guru or whatever, she's got this fascinating new way, which I'm sure will speak to very similar to you, where the very first thing she does is she does personality assessments on her new clients, and then
Yep.
she has a way of matching business styles and business models to the kind of personality and the business style of the individual themselves, so you don't find yourself sort of like lost down a rabbit hole of like, oh,
Yep.
I have to go live on Instagram every day, if like your personality is not
Precisely.
that kind of a personality or whatever,
Yeah.
um so
You,
yeah,
you
it's
you nailed
fascinating
it
to
right there. That's what we created a system. It's called I am, and it stands for Influencer, Authority, and Maven. So it takes the
mm,
whole birth chart, well, 13 points, and drills it down. We have a little calculator, and give you that for the show notes too.
oh yeah.
And yeah, it's
It's how quick does it
Astros.
take somebody to go down it? I was just thinking, like,
All they need is
is
their
it the kind of
time,
thing?
date, and place of birth. So
Oh, is it the kind of thing like how could you tell me mine now or not? Is that the kind
yeah,
of thing I would
yeah.
need to go away and do it?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, we
we
could,
can.
I could do it quickly for you. So
Sure,
yes, it's astrostyle.com/I am. And
great.
yeah, it takes those
I A
13
M. Yeah, got it.
IAM. It takes
Mm,
those 13 points, tells you which one you are, like, or like, what composition. Some people are a double because it could be 4 4 3. And then we have our whole
hmm.
curriculum in that we piloted this year, telling you how to like use time management, where you'll be more productive, what sort of, part of your business you should use to shine. So exactly that, like you don't have to do all the things. There's no one size fits
Yeah,
all. So yeah, the authority person should be putting themselves out there as an expert. The influencer should be innovating. The maven maybe should be on all the different platforms. So we teach it and
mm,
then we use it in this master class kind of mastery year-long program as well. And people have
I
had
love that.
massive breakthroughs with it. So
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure. I think like especially after the pandemic, but like we're all moving away from running businesses the way they should be run to like doing things the way that the
Right.
that exposes our best self, or like gets the best out of us. You know, like it was gone are the days of this is the process, this is the way,
Right.
that's what you do. Like,
The
you know,
7-figure click funnel hustle. I mean, we all, bless you if you get one of those, and I wish it for everyone, but it's like it's just not that easy. You have to be, wow, imagine this, like a real human who cares. And that's why I recommend
yeah.
being obsessed with whatever you build a community around, because otherwise you're going to be annoyed that you have to talk to people about this stuff. Like,
Yeah.
what's the thing that you would actually pay someone else to listen to you talk about? Build around that. Also, I discovered the general interest audience that you use the term ideal customer, that person might not be the ideal customer of your community. This is a different level you're going to. So the person that's the ideal generalist may not be the ideal specialist customer. So be prepared to just kind of bring a beginner's mind, listen, learn, talk to people, ask them. Don't feel like you have to have it all set up. I overset the table, and then I ended up taking some dishes away because I was like, this is extra, and maybe even in the way of them, actually engaging with what they want to. So don't get so attached to what you think, like, I've brought you everything. Welcome to paradise. Like, and they'll be like, yeah, that's nice. I'm not even into that. I just want to sit on this, under this tree
just
here.
tree over there, drink a coconut or whatever. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved your description of oversetting the table. That rings a bell in my head. I am such a table oversetter. Like, I'm just imagining my living room right now is currently, the table is already set for a dinner that doesn't even exist yet. In literal terms, but also in figurative terms, with like the several businesses or whatever that are like on the go. I'm a table oversetter, I would say, a chronic oversetter of my tables. Going back to your I am thing, I just wanted to quickly ask, is that the kind of thing you could do, like, on me now, or does it take a bit too long to like produce the score or whatever?
No. I'll pop it in. I'm going to do it on my phone. You are in the I am system. You're an influencer, super influencer, 8 influencer planets, 5 authority, which is the kind of structured, and 0, interestingly, of the Maven. So you don't have a TikTok account, do you?
I don't have a TikTok. Yeah, no, I don't.
Can't get yourself.
So describe
on
to me
there,
again what that means. Tell me again about the difference of the 3.
Yes. So the influencer is the innovator. They're the cutting edge. They have most of their planets in what are called cardinal signs, the leaders, the trailblazers, the pioneers. So you're always creating a new niche, a new sector. You're not interested in the well-worn path. You want to create your own with a fusion of all the different influences that you pull from. So the pros of that is that, you're fascinating to people. They're like, oh, tell me more about that. What do you do? But the cons is like that you're often ahead of the curve. So like, what do you do? So you have to explain what you do when you're just kind of pulling it down and synthesizing it yourself. So for our influencers that we have in our program, we teach them, like, have your special interest niche, have your first small pod, and let them go out and be the ambassadors. Don't try to be the general interest people. I'm also an influencer, so I have to have the obsessive community too. The authorities, so you have a decent amount of authority still in your I am. They like structure. They like to be experts. You like to interview experts, hear how they did it. It's a great combination. They do the how-to. Amy Porterfield is an authority. Marie Forleo is. They're more like here's my program and how to do all these things. We love to take those people's programs more so than make our own like that. And then the mavens are the kind of the buzzers. They're the ones who are like, oh my God, you got to do this thing. They're sort of like the fast fashion of the world, the Target, the Zara, the Topshop. And we need them because they're our PR and marketing machines, and they distill everything out to the masses. So as an influencer, you're going to like do the high up there kind of lofty idea, and then the authority might make it into a system or a process, and the maven's going to go tell everyone about it.
So got it. That's how it all ties together. Yeah,
you need mavens.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Mavens
I need to surround myself with mavens. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes people who don't have one of those will almost overcompensate by ending up immersed in that. So you have zero Maven, which is community, but here you are doing a podcast for community, a community
Mm,
software and app, BuddyBoss.
mm,
So isn't that funny?
and
But you're
run
doing the
run
cutting
three
edge part.
communities of like 100,000 members, and yeah, like so maybe that is like an overcompensating for something that I can feel is
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily feel it's missing, but like I can feel a lack of draw there or something like that. Does that make
Exactly.
sense?
Yeah. Or you're like, yes, it does. Or you're like, I found all these people and now I'm leading them and teaching them how to stand out and not be lost in a sea of other people who are showing. Like, are you? I'm now I'm going to go like check out your communities after this, but like, are
Feel
you
free.
teaching them how to really stand out in their market and that kind of thing and
My yeah
differentiate themselves?
my original online course was a course called Acting Business Breakthrough, and it was the a
Cool.
foundational marketing course for to teach actors how to brand themselves and promote themselves. Yeah,
See, there you go.
that was my first online course that I created. Yeah,
That's great. Helping the world be less basic. That is what influencers do.
I love it. I'm literally going to put that on my website. Jason Broderick, helping the world be less basic.
Please do. Please
That's
do.
awesome. I love that. So we were talking before about, you were on some other platforms before, and you mentioned briefly that there was a time, or maybe it was an extended period of time, where you were really struggling with the sort of like duct tape of tying systems together.
Yes.
What would you say was like your biggest daily struggle? Let's go from living inside those other platforms before you found BuddyBoss. What would you say was your biggest daily struggle with managing all these
Yeah.
enterprises?
I think partly the integrations that you have to do, like, oh, awesome, it integrates with this, but no, it doesn't with that. So let's make a Zap and test it. Oh, I'm out of Zaps. Oh, no, too many people want this. Just all the like my brain can skip from, I did, like I said, I went to art school, so I can go in and do the graphics, and then I can go and do the code, and then I can do the astrology content, but it's
Mm,
exhausting. It's like, it's just not all under one roof. I love that
mm,
with BuddyBoss, it's all under WordPress. So the
mhm,
majority of it is already just there and all on
mhm,
the same dashboard. It would get frustrating or exhausting. And then you start
mhm,
to need either to be a tech specialist or to hire one, and that's either expensive or people say they can do it or they can't. And then you get into this realm where your business starts to run you and you can't deliver the content to your community because you're in the weeds. I like to say I want to be in the seeds of my business, but not the weeds of my business because I
mm,
love to know how things work. I want to banish this idea that like you're a bad business owner if you're tinkering around. Like you should understand how your shit works, okay? In my opinion.
yeah.
And why wouldn't you want to? Some people don't, though. I mean, maybe that's me as an influencer. I like to know, I like to run the dials. But yeah, I think it's a big mistake to just hand it off and think someone else is running it. So when I was in all these other platforms, I was like, okay, gotta find a Kartra specialist in the market, and all of a sudden you're in this anonymous sea of people with varying skill levels, no way of checking what those are. And,
Mm,
you can lose time, you can lose money, you can lose hope, or you just are like, now I'm the tech man, I'm in the wiki. So, yeah.
mhm. And so do you find a lot of people describe what you just described as being the reason that they don't want to be in WordPress? So it's
Ah,
interesting that you had that experience in outside of WordPress, and that actually coming into a platform that you owned was a
mm-hmm.
better experience for you. Could you describe that a little bit more? Maybe is that a good
Yeah.
sort of, did I am I onto something
Yes,
there with that?
you are onto something. Yeah. So I mean that is true. We have, Elementor and BuddyBoss and LearnDash. And yes,
Mhm.
for people that aren't as tech or design savvy that prefer a template, maybe they will want to hire someone. But I still
Mhm.
think it's easier to find someone with a specific skill set that can go, like one person that can go under the hood and do a lot of that versus, you know, I mean, look, if you're new, maybe something like a Kajabi or something is good for you. But if you want to grow your business and actually build a community, um, just you're going to have to start using automation. You're going to have to start making funnels or different segments. It's a pain in the ass, but like either choose to have a very simple community and not scale. But if you want to, again, like I said, I'm talking to the obsessive people. You want to be an expert
Mhm.
in your field. I find that the people, people are going and doing 200-hour yoga teacher trainings or like getting mastery certification and all kinds of things now that the world wants. And the community membership model is an excellent way of actually building a steady revenue stream. But it doesn't always happen overnight. So I say give yourself at least 18 months to find like to experiment and find that groove.
Mhm.
And, yes, hire people, talk to people. I think it's important if you are going to use a WordPress platform or any platform to join a community of others who are using it because the insiders are going to tell you what works and what doesn't.
Mhm.
Um, and maybe connect you to someone who can do the techie stuff. So you
I
are
love
going,
it.
you need that support
Mhm.
and it's scary because you think you could get taken advantage of by people who prey on people who are scared of technology, and they do.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I don't know if I
Yeah.
answered that question without making it even scarier, but
No, no, for sure. It's not so much, like with anything, there's no right answer. It's about your experience of the of the your you finding your business, what works for you, whatever.
Mhm.
It's very interesting to have somebody have somebody who particularly with like platforms like Kajabi or Kartra, the two you mentioned, that
Mhm.
are quite well regarded, but have their own problems too.
Yeah,
It's not
they
like
do.
these all-in-one systems are immune to like I don't know if you know what's happening with Kartra at the minute, in the EU, like over in Europe, Kartra is down
Ooh.
currently. Nobody who's running
Oh
a business on Kartra can
no.
they can't sell, they can't access. Like Lisa Johnson is one. I'm in Lisa Johnson's membership. It ain't there today. Nobody can
Oh
log
my
in. She can't sell
God.
anything. She can't access her emails. She can't do anything. She's in the middle of a launch, and Kartra is down. And because her whole business lives inside Kartra,
Oh.
she's really struggling with that, and now she ain't going to be struggling with that for long. I'll put it to you that way. She's not one to sort of suffer for long with any of that kind of stuff. But the more important point is not necessarily about Lisa herself. Like it could have happened to anybody. The point is, which I said on a recent podcast episode, which again hasn't quite come out yet, so you won't have seen it. Is that the appeal of an all-in-one platform? It seems very appetizing at the outset,
Yes.
but it comes with its own challenges, and typically it comes with a much greater, albeit unified, cost. But generally speaking, they're also more expensive.
Yeah, they
Um,
are.
and
They
so
are.
if you are the kind of person who wants to have that kind of control and autonomy, and to know that if one element goes down, it's not going to take the whole, it ain't going to bring down the whole castle with it.
Exactly.
Then yeah, it makes total sense to at the very least diversify, at the
Yeah,
very least have like don't have every single part of your business in one system. For most
precisely.
people that might be like emails separate to sales, let's say, so that if you
Yes.
can't sell to somebody, you can email them to explain why.
Mhm.
Or if your
Oh,
emails go down, you can still sort of you're still capturing sales, even though you are not, maybe not like, so you're not losing in every way when one thing goes down.
yeah.
So tell me then a little bit about your discovery of the BuddyBoss app. Am I right in
Yeah.
thinking your app is it's not, is it out yet?
It was
Is it
out. I
live? Is it?
actually I have it disabled this week because of
Uh-huh.
exactly. I discovered that it was one of the plugins that didn't play well with my hosting. So I've now
Aha.
switched to a different hosting company, not hosting
Got
company,
it.
hosting plan, and I'm
Uh-huh.
hoping to re-enable it. But it was super fun to do. We customized a lot of it, and what I what I'm hoping to do in early 2023 is kind of a universal class pass with all of our Learn Dash courses. I
Mm.
love the app because you can just actually watch the classes like a podcast. I'm not a watcher of classes, I'm a listener. And then I'll, like, if I hear something that I think I should watch, then I'll go back and watch it. But I like to just absorb it by listening first. And I think a lot of people learn that way. So I like that the app makes it, something that people can just, while they're mopping the floor or making dinner, listen to you teach them something. So we have about 30 classes already in our galaxy. And so I want to
Mm.
give people kind of my next membership thing that I'm working on is to give people universal access for one subscription, kind of Netflix style price. But I'm working through, you know, all the things I've learned in my pilot program with Astropreneurs. One, how much to engage, send them that, how often do we send them an email? How do we pull out which class we recommend? I think people are like, I want the buffet, but I also want you to tell me what I should eat for my appetizer. So it's
That's
kind of,
it. Yeah.
yeah, fine.
I
Like,
want to pay for the all you can eat, but I still
mhm.
want you to tell me which ones are best.
Exactly. So I've
Yeah.
really learned that by watching people's behavior in this first year with a
Mm.
BuddyBoss community. They don't want to just be released into the wild. They want to be helped
Mm.
and shown around. They don't want to be, oh my
Yeah,
God,
like
where do I
learning
start?
paths. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
learning paths. We actually built I call it the hotel lobby. Our dad about 3 months into Astropreneurs, I was like, you know what we're missing? Like a dashboard, start here page. And like
Yeah.
start here, then step two, then do this, and then just you really want to, and that doesn't necessarily come with with Buddy Boss or any of these things. Like you have to actually build that as a page, but it's easy to
Mm.
do with Elementor. And that made such a difference with people like kind of
Mm.
they're coming into this virtual space. They're like, where am I? It's like when you come into a party
Mhm.
and you're like, where do I go? Who do
Who
I
do I
talk
know?
to?
Yeah.
Right, what do I
Yeah.
do with my hands? Give me a drink. So it's the same
Yeah.
thing in an online community.
Mm. Great. I assume you found because you mentioned that you're using Elementor. I assumed you found the BuddyBoss Elementor dashboard widgets and all
Absolutely.
that
It's
kind of
so
stuff.
great.
Yeah.
Yes, I
Yeah,
love
I'm the
it.
same.
I love
I
it.
used them on my sites as well. Even though I could be doing anything, and I think those are some of the most useful. Those, in fact, actually, I found BuddyBoss through Elementor. I think I was using Elementor to build my
Mm.
original membership site, and then I like Googled, like member dashboard for Elementor, and like the BuddyBoss dashboard for Elementor popped up, and I thought, whoa, hang on a minute, this
Yeah.
exists.
Yeah.
And I think that was my like first sort of my first entry into the world of BuddyBoss, and I guess now here I am, whatever, 4 or 5 years later. So
Totally.
yeah, that just reminded me of that
Totally. And when
little sort of
people
blast from
started
the past.
leaving, people started leaving Facebook because we were using like that was the thing we would do. Like that was also frustrating with the Kajabi Kartra stuff. Is like we have all our classes here, but then we have to do Facebook for the community. And then
Mm,
people started leaving Facebook because they didn't like the algorithm stuff that was happening, etc. So it was like, okay, and then when I saw Buddy Bus, I was like, it's got the. I remembered Buddy Press. I think not
mm.
Buddy Press or whatever
Yeah,
whatever
BuddyPress. Yeah.
yeah, Buddy Press. I remembered
Mhm.
seeing that long ago and being like, a social component that would be cool
Mm,
to add. So
makes
when
sense.
I saw it, I was like, okay, then buy Facebook, you know, or
Yeah.
Facebook became optional instead of, and I was like,
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
appealing to
Facebook
our
just became
people,
one of the tools in the toolbox, as
right?
opposed to the thing that drives the engine that drives the car. Yeah. It's the
Exactly.
exact same. My, Buddy Boss till I die, but I still have 3 Facebook groups, like 50K, 30K, 20K
Yeah.
members. They are now the fuel for my Buddy Boss site. They don't it's not the engine that drives the car, I guess.
Yeah. And so don't unplug those. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. You're not losing anything by keeping those, keeping those fires burning, but make sure that you are capturing something that you own, that a space that you can control.
Yep.
Is sort of that's the mantra.
Totally.
So tell me, what would you say has been the biggest highlight to you personally of creating your community?
Being able to serve people adequately, just hearing from people, just like, oh my God, I used this and it worked and it was so seamless. And, I actually, that the technology isn't the thing that is in the way. It's like that it's so seamless for some of them that they're able to actually use the materials and dive in and take it and use it in their lives or their relationships or their businesses. And that what we've built is actually supporting that. So that is a highlight. And then also the reduced personal stress and frustration and lost hours, because now I'm able to be on a podcast like this because I'm not tinkering as much behind the scenes. I still have to, it's part of business, but this has made it much easier to just even pass a lot of that off to people on my team to update and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I used to do a lot of, I see you've unified it under the phrase tinkering, but I see them as like two distinct things for me. It's the tinkering when you can't get something working that you need to, versus the tinkering of I've got an idea, how do I make this work?
God, yes.
Like one side which is like, God, I really need to move this member information from this cart to this email tool to tag it and drag it. How do I do that? Like what? Why can't this be simple? Compared to I've just seen this idea on some other thing. How can I do that for myself? What are the ways that I can figure out? How can I tinker with these tools that I've got to create this experience? Those that's the kind of tinkering that I like to do, and the kind of tinkering that is energizing rather than saps energy,
Especially
I suspect that's probably similar for you, right?
Absolutely. You're looking for things to get out of your way so you can build I love how you articulated that beautifully. Totally. There's repairing someone else's crappy system when they're supposed to be the experts, and you just want to kill them. You're just like, oh my God, you built such crap and I'm paying you for it. And now I'm fixing it. To hell with you, versus ooh, shiny new tech toy that's going to let me do this even better.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
An obsession.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There we back to that obsession again. So tell me then that same question, but as it relates to your members, what would you say is the biggest benefit to your members of you discovering BuddyBoss?
I think they feel that they can just log in to one place and talk to each other, comment, ask questions, learn at their own pace, access replays. Our members are all over the world. We have some in Australia, and so they can't always make it to the monthly live teaching, so they can watch the replay in a player. It's just cohesively organized. We're branding nerds, so we want everything to look nice, and it's never good enough for me, the art student, but
is that oversetting the table by any chance?
Overset. I am a chronic oversetter, so I'm working on
I'm
that
the same.
I'll have three
websites that all look gorgeous, but nobody goes there because I haven't done the other things. It'll look stunning, but I won't have actually pushed the thing out the door yet.
Oh, it's so hard, that perfectionism. Well, that's the Capricorn. I have so much of it in my chart too, that we are but it's okay. It's okay to have excellence as a standard. I don't think you should apologize.
Describing it as excellence instead of perfectionism. That's it. I love it. Yeah. Excellence.
Yeah. I think there's a big push for mediocrity, and it's the same wrong calculation. Get it out the door, ship it, soft launch it. I agree with that to some point, but your customers know, I was just almost went to a New York City diner the other day with my friend, and then we looked at the prices and was like, it's $13 for a crappy club sandwich on this faded menu that was laminated in 1997. I could, for the same price, have some foie gras by an artisan chef, Why the hell am I
You
doing
should come to
that?
London. You said it was $13 for a club sandwich, and I thought, damn, that is cheap. Like, where can I go?
Wow. Oh, I know you guys
Yeah,
are.
no,
I'm so
yeah,
sorry. Um,
yeah,
talk about economic shakeups. Well, that's a story for another day in our
yeah.
another book of ours. But yes, precisely though. But like, I'm sorry, I'm not serving you a crappy club sandwich at this restaurant. And I think it's good for
Hmm.
you to know that. If you're, look, if your people want disco fries, and give them some damn good disco fries. Don't let me stop you. Maybe you're a maven and they just are coming for the hangover brunch. But at the influencer restaurant, we're giving you, the best of the best. So
I
a
love it.
lot of people found freedom in their charts and in our course for not apologizing for their high
Hmm.
standards, because you are a tastemaker. You can't come out basic.
Mm. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need to dive into this I am situation because
Yeah.
on as a skeptic, I probably sometimes lean too much towards the cynic and think, nah, that's not for me. This like woo
Hmm.
woo sort of ethereal. Is it not? But
Totally.
it seems to, it's, I guess, for somebody like me, it's sort of like it's almost like it's almost like a permission to like
Yes.
be the thing that speaks to you best, knowing that it's not that you're neglecting this other area of yourself. It's that this other area speaks to somebody else who isn't you, and that's okay.
Absolutely. You're so
Mm,
articulate. We love the word permission, and that's what we think. We think of astrology as a big planetary permission slip to be your messy self. Like, one of my favorite quotes is that advice is what happens when you already know the answer but wish you didn't. And
mm,
so people already know. When I do a reading for someone, they're not like, that's interesting. I don't think that's me. They're like, oh, wow, I am like that. How did they know? I think human beings are our own biggest blind spots. And that's why we need all the tools we can. And a lot of what we call woo woo, which I am one of the first to roll my eyes at too, is what most people just don't explain stuff well. And that's true of,
mm,
and you could think of astrology as just another technology. It's maybe a
mm,
cosmic science of some kind. And if
mhm,
it's poorly explained, it seems like as much snake oil as someone telling you you're going to have a seven-figure business if you plug into their magical marketing path or
mm,
whatever. It's like,
mhm.
really? Show me how, and show me in a way that I understand.
Yeah, yeah.
Do
I
the
love that.
work, you
Yeah,
know?
I love that. I love that. That's what a great
Yeah.
way to describe that. So what's the next big thing that you're going to be building for the community? What's the next milestone for you guys?
Yeah, thanks for asking. Well, we just finished debuting a TV show. We were
Mm,
called Cosmic Love on Amazon Prime Video. It came out August
love it.
2022. It was a
Can we get
first,
that over? Was it released
yes,
internationally? Will I be able to get
yep,
it here?
it's
I'll have to check that
international.
out then. Love
It
it.
was, yep, it's on Prime Video, and it was the first ever astrology dating reality show. So
Wow,
that
love
came
that.
out, yeah, and that came out, and we have, but our next thing that we're doing is we do a yearly book every year. 2023 is at the printer, but it's about this big, and it's for every zodiac sign, and it's a
Wow.
guide to the whole year. And just looking at now that we've piloted the Astropreneurs membership, I think we're going to like look for more ways that we can have the tip and also the tail, just like
Mm-hmm.
give people an entryway into a
Mm,
subscription with
mm,
special ways that they can kind of find their obsession within the
mm-hmm.
astrological umbrella in the galaxy. You want to learn about relationships? Here's the path. You want to learn about
Mm,
business or becoming an expert? Here's that. You want to learn astrology? Here's that. So we're really thoughtfully diving into that. Um,
mm.
and just, yeah, building out, giving the people the tools they need to live their best life. Uncertain times, uncertain economy. Astrology is like a great get on the spaceship and let's fly through these choppy skies together.
Mm, I love it. It was amazing to have you on. Very interesting to sort of weave our way through the world of astrology with a sort of a lens, with a sort of a technological lens. What a fascinating way to explore that subject, and I'm sure our listeners will enjoy it just as much as I did. Where can people go to find more about you, find more about your site, your socials? Do you want to mention your other twin by any chance, or not?
I mean, you'll see her on all of those places. So for all of our horoscopes, astrostyle.com. For all of our classes and future BuddyBoss communities and masterminds, galaxy.astrostyle.com. And social media, Astro Twins. Mostly Instagram, little touch of TikTok here and there.
That was Ophira Edut sharing with us how to create a community that's as obsessed as you are. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to let us know, then make sure to hit that like button below, then leave me a quick comment, and this time tell me, do you think you're more of an influencer, an authority, or a maven, and how's that going to impact the way that you think about your business? That's it from me. Until next time.